So, I just got done watching Young Sherlock, and it was really, really good. I was surprised. I'm a huge fan of Sherlock Holmes. I just want to put that out in the open beforehand. I started out with the Robert Downey Jr. movies. I thought that those were amazing. Everybody did such a great job, or both of the movies actually. A Game of Shadows was also very, very good. But I am partial to the first one. And then much later, I think it was when I had just graduated high school or just before I graduated high school, I watched the BBC series with Benedict Cumberbatch in it. And that was also really, really good. I don't think, there was a point in time where I was like, yeah, I was teetering back and forth where I was like, yeah, the TV version's better, the movie version's better for this, that, or the other thing. But I think at the end of the day, I really just I like them both equally for very different reasons. The Robert Downey Jr. has excellent cinematography to it. I love the way that they set the scenes up. Some of them, sure, they ham it up a little bit. The discombobulate, you've seen all the memes, I'm sure. But I really, really liked the fight scenes in that. I liked how they broke down the deductions and everything like that. I just thought it was really, really cool from a cinematography point of view. The show with Benedict Cumberbatch in it was awesome because it leaned more on the deductions and the mental aspect than the fighting. There was, of course, fighting. There's always going to be an aspect of combat when it comes to Sherlock Holmes, I think. And I like that. I do like a good fight scene. Spoiler warning, if you have not yet watched it, I know it just came out not earlier this month. It didn't come out that long ago. Spoiler warning for you there. It was awesome. There was in the beginning, it's got a very, very good hook. It starts out with Sherlock. He's in prison. He's fighting this huge guy, and you think it's going to be, or at least I thought it was going to be more along the lines of Robert Downey Jr., where he's going to be jumping around doing all these crazy stunts and stuff. He was just straight up getting beat down into the ground. He was not doing good, and that's kind of a reoccurring part of the story. Is he's just not good at fighting. That he has to lean more on Moriarty for that, which I also thought was very, very interesting. There was no Watson present at all. Very, very interesting concept to me. He was actually friends with Moriarty throughout the entirety of this season, up until the end, of course, where they kind of have their differences, but they're still friends. You know what I mean? What I thought going into it was I thought it was going to be it was going to lean more into either the BBC show or the Robert Downey Jr. movies, and it went in its own direction, and I loved it. It was amazing. It did get a little bit slow, when it introduced the princess, and it had that kind of false flag with that, and it just kind of once you find out that she's not the princess, it's Sean Wynn. She's not the princess. She's just some girl from a village who's getting revenge. Hey, I can always get behind a good revenge story. And it follows her for a little bit, and then she just kind of drops off for a couple episodes. And it kind of threw me for a loop when that happened. It kind of got super, super slow around there. I think it was episode 3. It got kind of slow for me. I was like, man, if this is where it's going to go, I might not continue. It had things that were interesting, don't get me wrong, but whenever they throw something in like that and then they just drop it off, it kind of it ruins the immersion for me, if you know what I mean. And it did impact the viewing experience for me personally a little bit. There was other interesting things going on. It was going more into Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes going and looking into the family, Sherlock Holmes' family. I do really wish it had gone more in depth with Moriarty's family. I think that would have been interesting. But it kind of just they were investigating his dad's dealings because he was a shady character. And it comes to find out he's the big bad of the series, or of the season. Sorry, not the series. They haven't greenlit a second season. I really, really hope they do because I want to see what direction they're going to take it in. But they find the sister that they thought was dead is not dead. They had him and Moriarty, Sherlock and Moriarty had dug up the grave. They found a body in the casket, sure enough, but she had Beatrice, the sister, she had a broken arm when she died. And that was just another thing that was thrown in the mix where I was like, man, she's not actually dead. The mom is not crazy, because she'd been locked in a mental asylum for 12 years. And so they're looking for the sister. They eventually get the mom out of the asylum and find out that she's been getting like experimented on by the college, which it never really resolved. They might have resolved it and I just missed that portion. I do not know what the purpose of that was. Like the one doctor guy or the professor, sorry, that was doing these experiments and that had all these recordings of him like talking to her on the phonograph machine. It kind of just stopped, which again threw me for a loop, because it's making this out to be like it's going to be part of the whole operation that the dad had going on, because he ended up being in on it. And it didn't really explain what the whole reasoning behind the experiments were, other than to keep her looking crazy. You know what I mean? Like, he was actively trying to make the mom look like she was nuts the whole time, which they found out was he wanted her estate and all of this other, it went into the weeds with some of this stuff. And I really like that in this iteration, Mycroft plays a huge role. He doesn't, even in the BBC show where he played a little bit of a role, he was kind of detached. In this, he was right in the middle of it. I thought that he was going to go like he was going to be gutless, you know, like in the BBC show. He didn't want to get involved in stuff. He kind of worked from the shadows, which is where he wanted Watson to be like a spy. In the young Sherlock Holmes show, he was in it. He was helping them find stuff. If he wasn't in the shot, he was in the background doing stuff for the plot, which I could appreciate. I like that they made him such an interesting and fleshed out character. They gave him something to do. And even in the Robert Downey Jr. one, he's in the movie, he's there, but he doesn't do anything. In the second one, he kind of looks after Mary for a little bit, but he doesn't do much. You know what I mean? He's not a huge player. And I also like that they got the mom involved. She was huge into the plots. Like she was a key part of their little scheme to get back to the dad, so that they could find Beatrice. And I loved the twist at the end. I was not expecting the twist. I will spare you that detail. I've given the spoiler warning. I could go into the detail. I really just want you to watch the show and see that specific twist at the end, or near the end. It's like 2 or 3 episodes from the end that the twist comes. It was amazing. I never saw it coming, and when it did, I was like, how could I not have seen that? Like, head palm, full on, like, man, I'm an idiot. And I love that. I love when these shows get you like that, where it's like, man, it was good, it was going, and then all of a sudden just something happens and it derails everything. And it just, in a good way. Like, it makes you think like, oh man, this interaction meant this and this interaction meant that. It was nuts. It was absolutely insane. And the angle that they chose to take with Moriarty this time was super, super interesting, where he's like, he was Sherlock Holmes' friend. Sure, I can get behind that. That makes sense. They are very similar in every iteration that I've seen. But like, I didn't know throughout the season where that kind of rivalry was going to come from, where Moriarty turns bad and Sherlock goes to the good side. But it was super subtle, like that change between them, where it was after Sherlock got shot by Jean Wang and he's going off to the hospital. Mycroft and his mom were taking him to the hospital, and Moriarty goes off to find her because she didn't mean to shoot him. Apparently, it looked pretty intentional to me, but apparently she didn't mean to. He went off to find her, and they get run up on by this French soldier, because they're in France during the revolution, and he shoots him. And she's telling him like, you're gonna have to, he was gonna kill you, like pretty much consoling him, because you would rightfully feel pretty guilty if you had to shoot somebody. And he is just, it shows him kind of just like staring at this dude as he dies, and then it cuts away, and later on it comes back to that and it shows it from a different angle, and he's just like staring at the blood as it drains from this guy, because he shot him in the stomach, so he's going to be bleeding a lot, or like in that area in the torso. And so it flashes back to that later on in this season to show like that change. And there's like this whole thing with the dad and the sister, where the part of the deal to get the sister Beatrice from Sherlock's dad is he wants Zhang Wang. He wants her. He wants to kill her because she's trying to kill him this whole time in a revenge plot. And Moriarty's got a gun on her because they're making it look like they're gonna hand her over. And he is like whispering in her ear. He's like, you know, the funny thing about when I shot that guy, or something to this effect. It's not the exact wordings, but he's like, something funny about when I shot that guy, I didn't feel any of those things you were talking about. And then he hands her the gun so that she could then attack their dad, which of course fails because there were still episodes left. It was amazing. I cannot say enough good things. There's definitely been better shows. Like I think it ranks a little bit below the BBC show for me, just because I really like the mind games portion, and they focused a tiny bit less in young Sherlock Holmes than they did on the BBC Sherlock show, which is, for a lot of people, that's what they want. It makes the movies, or it makes the show flow a little better. For me personally, I really like the mind games aspect. At the end of the show, when it's kind of more so highlighting the gap in morals between Sherlock and Moriarty, is where I think it gets the most interesting, because on the one hand, like, they could stand to gain a substantial amount of money if they just take the plot at hand and run with it, you know? And Moriarty picks up on this. He's like, man, we could be rich, we could be free, we could do whatever we want. And Sherlock is, no, that's wrong. We can't do that. To an extent, that's like when you start to kind of separate yourself from Moriarty, because before that a lot of the things he said was making sense. Sherlock was very against killing people, and like the classic hero stereotype, like he just wants to be on the side of life. He wants to save everybody. And Moriarty is like, yeah, man, it's not always going to be like that. You're going to have to do some things you don't want to do, which in a real life situation, yes, Moriarty is definitely right there. You can't always save everybody. There's going to be things that you don't want to do that you have to do, especially if you are tackling large scale crimes like they are. But then he's going, kind of crossing that territory into the villain at that point, where he wants to profit off of this terrible thing that the dad has discovered, the weapon that he's made, instead of making it so nobody can get it, which is the overall goal for Zhang Wang and for Sherlock and for the Mycroft and the mom. They all want this to just not be a thing, and he seems to want to profit off of this. And Beatrice, surprisingly, she's in on it with him. She wants that. She's more along the lines of the dad in the last episode, where they're sitting down in a diner, or like it's in Constantinople, I think is where the ending is. They're sitting there in this like restaurant of sorts, and they're talking. They've become romantically involved, which is a little bit odd. And they're talking a little bit about that, a little bit about this deal that Moriarty's alluding to. He hasn't told her yet. He's like, I think we would work well together. Sherlock comes in, and he's just sitting there, and they're just talking, like they're just having a casual conversation, but you can tell something is up. And he says, I know you have it. Sherlock is he's saying essentially he knows that Moriarty has the equation that's needed to pull off this whole thing, to make this weapon actually effective, because you have to have all kinds of different calculations to account for the positions and where it's going to end up. And he's like, okay, well, I did it for us, and we can do it together, and all this other stuff. And it kind of ends there, because Sherlock found a key, which is another part of the puzzle, and it just ends. The season ends, and it's kind of left hanging because they haven't greenlit it for another season yet. Which I really, really hope that they do, because it's a good show. It's a really, really good show. It was a very good cliffhanger, and I hope that it doesn't come back to bite everybody if it doesn't get another season, because then it's just never getting resolved. But overall, like, I really, really thought that it was a very, very solid start. It had its slow points, sure, but if you are willing to stick through like an episode, maybe it's like not even a whole episode, it's probably like 30 minutes or so of just kind of like slow burn. It's still super interesting. It's really, really slow burn. If you're willing to sit through that, it's an amazing, amazing show. It's very, very well put together, and I think that you would very much enjoy it if you like Sherlock Holmes, if you like that IP, and I'm looking forward to another season if it gets greenlit for another one. So let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree, if you really, really liked the show, if you hated it, if you are looking forward to another season, or whichever one you liked the best. Did you like one of the other shows? Did you like the movies? Let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you guys next time.